Hi, scholars. So if you're here, it's because you want to see an example of answering the TDQ question with all our criteria for success. And just like I had in my last video, here's One Art by Elizabeth Bishop, an incredible poem that also conveniently uses a lot of poetic devices. We won't take too much time talking about all the different ones, but just to make sure that we're clear, most poems use more than one. Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night used repetition, but it also used rhyme scheme. The same thing is true here, repetition and rhyme scheme. Hot Dogs uses imagery, but it also uses tone and mood as a way of setting the stage for their deeper meaning. So in One Art, the one that's probably most obvious that you might have noticed is repetition. The art of losing isn't hard to master. 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 And so one thing you could talk about is why repeat that? And the easiest thing to ask yourself when dealing with repetition is, why would anyone repeat something over and over again? Is it because they're trying really hard to convince you of something? Is it because they're angry or emotional? Or is it something else altogether? Which in this poem, I think it is. And I hinted at that in my last video. To me, the fact that they say it over and over and over and over again, but then there's a slight change at the end, right? It's not too hard to master. To me shows that they're trying to convince themselves, which means they're not really telling us the truth at the beginning. Loss is really hard for the speaker, and they just want you and for themselves to believe otherwise. So to practice using our sentence frame, it might look something like this. Let me zoom in so that you can see this. There we go. TDQ assertion, I would say Bishop uses, so Bishop, our poet, uses repetition, our poetic device, to develop her central idea that loss is more challenging than she wants to admit. By repeating over and over what she knows isn't actually true. I might even add another sentence here because I don't think I fully explained my idea in the first. Like the fact that she repeats that the art of losing isn't hard to master so many times actually reveals like a desperation on her part. She wants it to be easy. So notice what I did. I named the poetic device, but I also named the central idea. Loss is more challenging than she wants to admit. And then I pushed it over the edge with that by statement by repeating over and over what actually isn't true. You can do this with a bunch of different poetic devices. Rhyme scheme would work for this poem as well, right? She uses rhyme scheme to make it sound all sing-songy and fun, but when the rhymes start to break down towards the end, it shows that actually she's not as happy as she wants us to believe. This is a poem of contrast, right? Other poems won't be like lying to you. Poems that you've read so far might use repetition to repeat something that's actually very true, or use rhyme scheme to show that something was really fun and lovely. So the question is really, how does what the poem is saying literally match or play with what the poem is doing on a figurative level? But when you are writing your assertions today, remember that same frame. Name the assertion, name the poetic device, but don't forget to name the central idea, and really ask yourself, like, what do I learn about that central idea from this poetic device? If you're still feeling a little confused or a little in the dark, one, that's normal. Poetry is a little confusing. See if you can figure it out or take your best inference, your best guess. But otherwise, do come to office hours, because I think poetry is better for a real conversation, and we can have one if you come to office hours. So hopefully this was helpful. Good luck with your exit ticket revisions. I'm excited to see your responses.